All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to our Abilita Advantage webinar. It's in Abilita's DNA to focus on our clients' needs with bottom line results. And we're thrilled to have you here as we dive into important technology solutions that will help your business stay ahead. So today we're tackling the crucial topic, cybersecurity. And I'm sure just the mention of that word brings up all kinds of thoughts, doubts, questions. Typically, businesses are regularly asking, are we safe? What do we need to do to be safe? And of course, how much is this going to cost me? Well, keeping your business safe is an ongoing need, and small to medium sized businesses are being targeted more and more since these bad actors are looking for easy prey. And that said, protecting yourself doesn't have to be sophisticated or even elusively expensive, but it does take a proactive approach and some education to know what steps are necessary. So our guest speaker today is Sean O'Shea from Coro, who will take us through Cybersecurity 101 for SMBs. And just a reminder that you'll be getting a $25 gift card to DoorDash, which will be emailed to you after this meeting, as well as a link to the recording of this call. And in case it isn't already done, please mute your audio and turn off your video when Sean begins. So take it away, Sean.
All right, thanks, Dan. So, little background on Coro and a little background on myself. Again, my name's Sean O'Shea. I've been with Coro for about 3 years now. I've been on the direct side of Coro, where helping direct end user customers and small, medium-sized businesses with their cybersecurity needs. And recently, have been helping our channel partners with supporting their customers and their cybersecurity needs. Um, Coro's been around for about 10 years now. We were founded in 2014, later part of 2014, and we have been really taking off in the market. We've been raising a considerable amount of venture capital, over 325 million at this point, and we are a global organization. So, just to give you a little bit of background, let we are one of the leading experts in cybersecurity when it comes to small to medium sized businesses. But mainly, what we're here to talk about today um, is the difficult and complex subject of cybersecurity and how it relates to small to medium sized businesses. Historically, the cybersecurity industry has really been focused on the large enterprise. They've been focused on, the Coca-Colas of the world, the federal government, and the ones that historically have most needed protection. But as Dan mentioned, when he was, kind of introing this meeting, um, the threat actors have really gotten smart, and they've realized that a lot of the low hanging fruit are the small to medium sized businesses of the world. There's a ton of data out there that supports this. You can see right here, 85% of data breaches strike SMBs. Um, there's a lot of data that supports the fact that SMBs do not have the resources necessary to prepare themselves for cybersecurity attacks. And this one right here, the most unfortunate one that we see day in and day out, is the fact that an SMB on average that's hit by a cyber attack, 60% of them have to shut down their business forever. Um, a couple more facts here in terms of the the target of SMBs and the fact that there are little things that a lot of SMBs have done to prepare themselves. 45% of business owners have been attacked without even knowing. Three quarters think that cyber attacks are unlikely to affect their business. 41% believe that attacks only happen to large businesses. Again, going back to that first point, um, that used to be true. That used to be that they left the little guys alone. But nowadays, they are the largest target there's the largest amount of small businesses out there as opposed to enterprise companies, and they are much easier to breach than some of the enterprise companies out there. So let's talk about a couple of the major problems that are impacting small to medium-sized businesses these days. We know that cybersecurity is an extremely complex subject. It's something that you need an expert for. It's not something that it's not like a payroll tool that can be managed by a business owner or an executive assistant. It is something that historically you need a dedicated cybersecurity expert for. And so some of the things as a result of this problem that these SMBs are dealing with is, having to manage a number of different cybersecurity tools, lack of resources, meaning, things like just an individual that has the cybersecurity skills needed to stop these breaches from happening. One of the big ones that we see is misconfigurations. When I was working at Coro on the direct side and working directly with small to medium sized businesses, um, a lot of the business owners that I would talk to would say, hey, we got set up with Microsoft 365. We have their E5 licensing and we're set. But on digging further and continuing the conversation with them, what we normally find is, yes, they purchased the tools necessary, but they didn't configure them properly, and therefore there are a ton of cracks left open for these threat actors to access. Another one that we see here is just general lack of expertise. Again, very complex subject. Cybersecurity is something that people spend their entire college career studying and their career working up to getting designations like CISSP and other things like that. But the big one that we see in small to medium sized business is budget. That is always the question. How much is this going to cost me? And it is definitely top of mind. It's a huge issue for small to medium sized business that are trying to scale their business and they're worried about their bottom line because historically cybersecurity has been an expensive area in IT budgets, um, and that's one of the things that Coro is trying to solve for. Um, So let's talk about what needs to be protected. There you look at. I'll keep using Coca-Cola as an example, and you look at the tools that they might be using. Um, the list is going to be 50 to 100 tools and services long. I spoke to the CEO, or excuse me, the CISO, Chief Information Security Officer of MGM Grand, about 6 months ago. I just met him at a conference, and he was telling me they had 150 different subcontractors working for them when it came to cybersecurity. But when it comes to small to medium-sized businesses, the IDG has really recognized four main domains that need to be protected by every business as kind of the basic building blocks. Cloud applications is one of them. So these are your collaboration suites like Office 365, Google, your CRMs like Salesforce, um, email. 93% of cybersecurity attacks, ransomware, things like that, actually originate with a phishing email. Um, Endpoints. So these are your laptops, your desktops. Some people include servers in those as well, mobile devices. Um, and then lastly, your data. So uh, PII, personally identifiable information. PCI, payment credit card information, and PHI, protected health information. These are all extremely important, not only to protect um, the the privacy of your clients, your employees, but to protect your brand's reputation. If you have, I'll give you an example. I had a nonprofit customer, about 20 employees. It was the first customer I ever had at Coro, and they had what they thought was fraud on their bank account. Um, Turns out it was a breach of their email domain. Someone was inside their Office 365 um, account. They were reading emails coming in and going out, and then they were able to reroute an $80,000 donor payment to an offshore bank account. And luckily, we were able to help them to prevent this from happening again. But they did lose that donor. That donor decided, because their information was essentially stolen, that they didn't want to work with that nonprofit anymore, and that was a regular annual donation that they were receiving. So again, data is, if not the most important, one of the most important domains here, because it can ruin your brand's reputation.
Hey, Sean, let me ask you a question real quick as you're transitioning. And I think great examples, and we all know the dire need of this. But a lot of times when I have conversations with people, they'll say, well, you know what? IT has that, or we outsource this to somebody, MSP, to handle that. How much do you bring in leadership, operations, finance, to ask the questions, to have some transparency? Obviously everybody needs to be aware, but do you understand what I'm saying? How do you involve others into this decision making or awareness?
No, absolutely. It's a great question. Well, I mean, a lot of the time you'll hear when we hear that on our end with, hey, our MSP covers that, or we have a third party consultant. It's they're saying that because that's what their third party is saying. That's what the MSP is saying. But I mean, generally, when I run into that question, first thing I do is I ask if we can have a meeting with that consultant, and we ask these hard hitting questions, and really dig into if they have these things covered. Um, Involving finance and other key stakeholders is always important, because they ultimately are going to be the ones signing off on budget and what they're currently paying versus what they might be adding. So anytime that we can have a finance or the ultimately the economic buyer at the table, it definitely makes the conversation a little bit more effective, and we avoid hiccups down the line where um, you know people have not been looped in at the right stages, and aren't aware of what we're actually trying to protect.
Yep, thanks.
Absolutely. Hopefully that answered your question. All right, so going back to kind of the four main domains here. I'm gonna kind of tie it back to that last point about you know some of these areas here, right? Tool overload, lack of resources. A lot of the time, when people are asked to go protect those four main domains, they end up having to put together a cybersecurity stack. There are not a lot of tools out there that cover those main domains in one tool. And so what we've seen with a lot of companies is they go out and they build this stack that looks something like this. Um, the issue is, nowadays, a lot of IT teams are being asked to do a heck of a lot more with a lot less. They've been getting headcount slashed, less budget, and all the while, with the attacks rising, with the attacks becoming more complex, uh, there's a lot more cost and complexity involved in creating a cybersecurity stack that looks something like this. Um, just kind of a visual aid for you here. a lot of the main problems that these SMBs are running into is the extreme number of point solutions that are out there. Managing 10 different tools, it's very confusing, it's very complex, it can become extremely expensive, and very high maintenance. And ultimately at Coro, we believe, especially in the small to medium sized business market, that it doesn't have to be that way. There's a guy, Bruce Schneier, wrote a book called Data and Goliath back in, I think, the '70s, late '70s. Um, and he said complexity is the worst enemy of security, and our systems are getting more complex all the time. So ultimately, what Coro has done, I'll give you guys a little background on Coro real quick. That is our goal. We're trying to solve for those problems. We're trying to create um, a efficient and cost effective solution for the SMB market that can be managed by a one person IT team, or outsourced to the third party if need be, but in a way that's not going to break the bank. Um, so just a couple case studies for you here, and I'll be sure to send out this deck afterwards. um, K through 12 is a big vertical that we deal with. um, Ultimately, business, excuse me, Memphis Business Academy um, had one major challenge, and that was that when it came to email security, they needed a vendor that was going to do more than just offer that email security service. He needed something that was going to be tailored to their specific challenges, um, and be flexible, and truly be invested in helping them meet their cybersecurity goals. What Wilson found in the Coral platform was ultimately a tool that made cybersecurity and email security extremely easy. It was a solution that they really hadn't seen, in the past, with email security simplified as much as Coro had done it. Um, IT for Memphis Business Academy was pretty lean in terms of the size of their school. So 30 faculty, 800 students. They had a team of 7, and most of the cybersecurity fell on their IT director, Jerry Wilson. So he was really looking for a platform that was going to, one, be effective in catching phishing emails and protecting the school's IT infrastructure, but also not break the bank, and be efficient and easy to use, so that he wasn't spending 100% of his time hunting for phishing emails. And the second kind of case study we have here, um, this is an HVAC company out of Connecticut. Again, very lean IT team, 200 employees, 100 field techs, only one IT director. This is pretty typical of this size of company. You'll see, one or two people on the IT staff, very lean IT. Um, Many of the problems that they had revolved around, too many tools, hard to administer these tools, too much for one person to manage. And with all of that, they still had a recent ransomware attack. That's most likely due to the fact that they had too much going on and too much to take care of, too much to track, and things fell through the cracks. They weren't configured properly, nor were they managed properly. So Coro's Managed Essentials bundle was what they ended up using. It covered cloud, email, endpoint, managed detection and response, and user data governance. We deployed in under 45 minutes, covered his entire security stack that he had been using in the past. We replaced that stack in a single pane of glass. and we were able to add with our managed solution a security professional to help kind of augment some of the work from his one person IT team. And that's about it. In terms of kind of the content that we have for you today. Obviously, if Coro is something that sounds interesting, or you want more info on Coro, feel free to reach out to Dan and Chris, and they should be able to help you out. But
maybe Sean, just one other follow-up question, as well as obviously you need to have the tools, but you also need to have a plan. You need to have a incident response plan. Maybe you can kind of talk through even some of those examples of, okay, they're working with Coro or somebody like Coro. It's kind of like you have the Ferrari in the garage, but you got to know how to operate it. You got to have the attitude of, it's not a matter of if we're going to be attacked, it's when we're going to be attacked. How do we respond? How do you take people through that day, that moment, that preparation?
no, that's great. So Coro, we are the tool set. We primarily focus on detecting and responding to threats, preventing the threats. But there's always a need for, because unfortunately nothing is 100% airtight in security. There's always new threats developing. There's always things that may not be caught by tools. So if something does happen, one thing you mentioned was disaster recovery, business continuity plans. These are all part of the framework we use, NIST. Um, and so, having a third party, whether it's a consultant or someone that can really run you through not just the tool set you should be using, which is one spoke of the wheel, but all other spokes of the wheel, like disaster recovery, business continuity. There are controls that you need to have in place that a tool set like Coro will not give you. For example, MFA, that is just a control that you need to implement yourself. So knowing what those controls are, and implementing them, a lot of people do use a third party consultant. Uh, they can do the research on their own, obviously, if they want to. But definitely leaning on a professional to help you with that is something I would recommend.
Yeah, it looks like in the chat,
See
Cindy
it.
asked, is cybersecurity insurance a good idea? And what do you recommend?
Absolutely. Cybersecurity insurance is definitely a must. As I mentioned, there's always a chance, even with a tool like Coro, that something's going to happen. And so you want to have your backup plan. You want to have the uh, kind of that second layer of protection from things like brand damage, things like ransomware payouts, things like that. And it's always a good idea. What do I recommend? I don't necessarily have any recommendations in terms of carriers. If you have a general liability carrier that you're using, typically they will have some sort of cyber liability rider, or we typically will recommend a standalone policy, as the riders are not usually the best coverage. But it's certainly something that you should have in place, and I would highly recommend you speak to your insurance professional about adding some sort of cyber liability protection.
All right. Well, it looks like questions have been asked. So thank you so much, Sean, for your time. I just want to remind everybody, the whole point of these webinars is just to help everyone to get a little bit smarter about the issue, the industry, the solutions. And so hopefully today this was helpful for you. Our next webinar will be in June, and we're going to take you through how to select your next phone system. Should you move your phone system into the cloud, or a lot of people are kicking the tires on Microsoft Teams? And what considerations do you need to make for that transition? So thanks for today. Thanks for coming. And Sean, thanks again for your presentation.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time.
Have a great day, everybody.